Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome to our 200th episode. Wow, what a milestone. Time flies. After 5 years on the air, I am thrilled to join you every Saturday night right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. It's truly my pleasure to spend time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Continue to follow us at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. XENSAMS. And also remember that all of our episodes stream 24/7 on your home TV worldwide platform and Kathy Ireland. And of course, you can also find us directly on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. Welcome to today's show. We'll tackle the growing awareness around breast implant illness, otherwise known as BII, a condition affecting many women with implants. While not yet fully understood or recognized as a formal medical diagnosis, BII includes symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, and autoimmune disorders. It's even linked to rare cancers like breast implant-associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma, BIA-ALCL. Joining us tonight is going to be Dr. David Rankin. He's the chief of plastic surgery at St. Mary's Medical Center in West Palm Beach, Florida, and he's one of the nation's top breast explant experts. He's going to join us to shed light on the complexities of BII and what women need to know about their health. Next, in our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're joined by Robert Edward Grant, a best-selling author, mathematical physicist, and prolific innovator. From extraterrestrial life to the national security risks posed by mysterious drone sightings right here in the tri-state area and nuclear threats, Robert is going to bring unparalleled insight into the mysteries that surround us. In the Express Polished Beauty segment, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN, Dr. Daisy Aim discusses everything you need to know about vulva and vaginal moisturizers. Finally, in our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we'll explore the latest in non-invasive beauty with David WOR, a certified nurse practitioner and skincare expert. He has over 23 years of experience and training under the esteemed Dr. Rod Rorick, and he's going to share his expertise on the cutting-edge injectables and how CO2 Lift is revolutionizing recovery and results in the beauty world. Stay tuned for these fascinating discussions and more. It's all happening right here on A Moment of Zen on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back with Robert Edward Grant chatting drones, nuclear threats, and extraterrestrial life. You don't want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today, we're featuring returning guest and contributor Robert Edward Grant. He's an innovator, a successful entrepreneur, and the best-selling author of Philomath. He specializes in number theory, mathematical physics, and blockchain technologies. He's a prolific inventor and founder of several corporate enterprises. He truly does it all. He's an expert in the realms of mystery, science, and unexplained phenomena. We'll be tackling everything from the possibility of extraterrestrial life to the real concerns surrounding nuclear threats and even the strange drone sightings that have sparked more questions than answers. Whether you believe in these mysteries or not, the facts are out there. And today, we're going to uncover them together. Welcome to the unveiling of the unknown, exploring drone phenomena, national security, and the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement with Robert Edward Grant. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, great to be with you again.
Oh, love having you on. You're one of my favorite contributors. And Robert, it's fascinating how the line between fact and fiction is becoming increasingly blurred. It's kind of scary, especially when it comes to unidentified aerial phenomenon, right? In fact, according to a recent survey by the National UFO Reporting Center, not that I feel like they're accurate on anything they report, there was over 7,000 UFO sightings that were reported across the US, and that was 2023 alone. And with the increase in these reports, people are starting to question the possibility that we might not be alone in the universe. So what's your take on the current state of these quote unquote UFOs and the growing public interest in extraterrestrial life?
The shift that's happening is not that there's a huge, massive increase in the number of UAPs or UFOs, in my opinion. It's just that the number of people that are raising their consciousness through this global awakening that's going on right now is actually what's changing the scenario for everyone. Because what was already there before, and these interdimensional, I call them more interdimensional and interterrestrial than extraterrestrial beings, because they've been here all along. We are now just able to see them as we raise our consciousness. You know, one good analogy would be like this. A bird has to have its retinal receptors at a certain frequency in order to perceive the colors of other birds. Now, we often would see a certain black bird like a crow as purely black, but if we raised our frequency to the way that other birds would see it, they would see it with rainbow colors. This is because they have a different frequency that they can actually have access to. Their frequency range is much more expanded as birds than human beings are. So as a result, they see different colors altogether. And this is exactly what I believe is analogous to what's happening right now. The things that we couldn't see before as we raise consciousness are now becoming visible to people that are average people around the world. And we're starting to see this massive increase in UAP reportings as a result.
Wow. There's a rising interest among the public, particularly within the, with the US government's declassification of some military UFO footage. That's sparking a lot of conversation, thinking the government is hiding more than they're letting on, and that there's a deeper truth about these sightings. So I think, people are starting to, yeah, you're right, become aware. Now, speaking of the unknown, there's also been an increase in drone sightings, right, over the US, particularly near sensitive areas like military bases. And a report in December of 2024 revealed that drones were spotted over an arsenal, Picatinny Arsenal, a military research facility, and many speculated about their purpose, with theories ranging from surveillance to possible threats. So, with the increasing drone activity, including these mysterious maneuvers and unexplained sightings, could there be a connection between drones and national security concerns, like the possible retrieval of nuclear weapons or dirty bombs?
If you look at declassified documents from the CIA, you'll notice that they've known for quite some time that human beings are capable of perceiving higher dimensions. And as a result, if they knew that interterrestrial beings, right, are in higher dimensions and all around us, then basically they could also know, if by raising our consciousness that we would actually be able to perceive those things, then there might have to be psyops in order to control the population so that this mass awakening happening all at the same time wouldn't startle the public too much. It's a very, very delicate balance to keep people in their houses, to keep people from like losing it, as it were, if they thought there was the end of the world coming or something crazy was going to happen. And so they might have to actually put in place certain psyop activities in order to sort of mitigate the risks associated with looting and everything else that, a society in pandemonium could basically reach. And I think that's one of the things that, I was really startled to find. I did a podcast recently with John Peterson, who is the CEO of the Arlington Institute out of Maryland. And he's worked for many years as a futurist for the Department of Defense. And he predicted this. He said within 39 days, in the podcast I did back with him in October, he said within 39 days of the Joe Rogan podcast with President Trump, that there would be a huge, massive increase in the number of UAP sightings, as well as drone sightings in the skies. And he said this on my podcast well before any of the first reports coming out of New Jersey started to trickle in, and then became an avalanche, right? Because now we're hearing it over and over and over again, all over the place. And I saw 2 plasmoids in Laguna Beach, and everybody in Laguna Beach was videotaping. I was just driving down the street, down Pacific Coast Highway, and I looked over to see what everyone was looking at and videotaping, and I caught it also on film. And it's everywhere now. So how much of this is this expansion in consciousness that is now allowing us to see things that we couldn't see before? And if you look at programs and projects like the Stargate project, et cetera, they've been using things like telepathy and remote viewing for many years as mechanisms to be able to get intelligence for the intelligence community, in particular the CIA. But all the three-letter agencies have had access to this type of information. If you haven't seen the telepathy tapes, which is or listened to it as a podcast, I highly recommend it, because this is showing this advancement of how human beings are moving beyond the former paradigms of communication, where children with autism have been tested on this in a very unassailable way from a scientific perspective, and it's demonstrating that they actually have telepathic abilities.
I read that too. Yeah, and that's fascinating to me. Before we digress too far, I want to touch on something you just said. So, as we're discussing these intriguing possibilities, we should also touch on the reports of these mysterious orbs and plasmoids that have been spotted, like you saw,
Mhm.
and various observers have seen them. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Atmospheric and Solar Terrestrial Physics found an unusual correlation between certain atmospheric anomalies and plasma-related objects, which some describe as orbs. What can you tell us about plasmoids and orbs? Are these phenomena related to extraterrestrial activity, or could they be something else entirely?
What plasma does is it's able to shear off electrons from their entanglement associated with protons. So, every proton, if it's like hydrogen, has one proton and one electron. But what plasma is able to do is it's able to have that electron dissociate from the proton. And then you can recohere it using electromagnetic caging into different elements potentially. So this is one of the scientific theories that is basically leading to a lot of research in these areas. So this means that you could basically use it for things potentially like teleportation. You could, recohere something. You could basically break it apart from its electrons and then put it back together with its electrons again, and then have it reappear somewhere else. So you could potentially use it in combination with things like wormholes and Einstein-Rosen bridges, right, as they're also often known in physics. So this is an area of the most cutting edge science that's happening right now, combined with quantum entanglement, that I think is super interesting. I don't know that our government has this degree. So for some of the videos that I've seen, we might think that they're plasmoids, but if they are government derived, then they're more than likely holographic. So it's more like a projection that's being projected up. Now you have to really think that the government's going to be super sinister, right, in order to do something like that, just to trick all of the people. And that could well be, or it could be a foreign actor. We simply don't know. And that's why I'm hoping to have some of these questions answered as soon as Donald Trump takes office.
Yeah, because he's going to be way more transparent. He's demanding answers, because deep state, obviously, there's something else going on. But the plasmoids in the orbs, I literally saw a footage of a plasmoid or orb come in contact with the drone, and the drone just boom went down. It was fascinating to see. So what you just described just made so much sense, because if they really want to get nefarious, these plasmoids and or orbs could be used for nefarious activity. I mean, we have planes that have gone missing off of radars that we just can't find, entire airplanes that they've scoured the ocean to look for and they cannot find them, right? So it's interesting that this does exist. So your insights into plasmoids are totally fascinating, just like all of your insights. As someone who's been in the field of research and observation, one may think there's a real scientific basis to the orb sightings, as we may be dealing with something that challenges our understanding of physics and the universe itself. So I love how you just tied it all together. Now, moving beyond drones and orbs, we have to consider the darker, more disturbing possibility that some of these sightings might have something to do with terrorist activities, right? So the US government has issued temporary restrictions on drones in several cities, including New Jersey, after reports of drones near sensitive sites occurred. And with the increase in concerns around nuclear threats and dirty bombs, do you think that's a possibility, that some of these drone sightings are connected to such threats?
Well, I mean, look, in this day and age, I've learned to never say never. So, I mean, a lot of things that I thought would be impossible, I've now learned, and through my own experience, have actually happened. Like, why did we end up with, things like the whole pandemic? I mean, when now it's become widely accepted that, yes, that was a leak out of a lab in Wuhan. And for years, everyone was like, no, 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 that's a conspiracy theory. So, it's like, I've never been one to be a conspiracy theorist, but when all the conspiracies seem to be turning out to be true in some way, shape, or form, you have to start asking the question. It's like, screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me.
Shame on me, yeah. Yeah, and it's
So
deeply
this
it's
is,
deeply concerning that the possibility of a dirty bomb or a nuclear threat is even being discussed, just like that we had to deal with a pandemic. And what's most worrying is that there was a recent shipment mentioned in the news, which reportedly involved a dirty bomb search in New Jersey,
I saw that.
that just went missing off the port, and then now they're all frantically looking for this. So I do think that we might be facing a legitimate threat here. I don't think it's just a case of heightened paranoia. And to your point, I don't put anything past the government, like nothing.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like a lot of people are worried about, the intrusion of aliens and, from all the movies we've watched over the years. But now I'm starting to wonder if all of that approach to it was also just propaganda. And maybe the real thing that we should be worried about is the enemy we have within, and that is our government itself. This is where more people have died as a result of wars because of governments, right? More people have died because of, things like that have been forced on the populations because of government control, that you have to ask yourself the question, what is the role of it going forward?
Yeah.
I have to ask that question. I'm a human being. First and foremost, I'm a citizen of Earth. And I really don't care about a lot of these artificial borders that we have around the globe. And I think a lot of people in the world are coming to that same conclusion. So you have to ask ourselves the question, maybe, and I think a lot of people think the advent of us being able to realize unequivocally that we are not alone in the universe is like, a lot of people are just thinking, please come help us.
Now, moving on to as you've pointed out, there's a gap in public knowledge about these incidents, and conspiracy theories are beginning to swirl. For example, some have speculated that these drones, right, are preparing us for an extraterrestrial invasion, given the frequency of unexplained sightings and encounters. And there was a 2024 study in Science Science Advances, and it noted that the discovery of biosignatures on exoplanets may soon allow us to detect alien life. So could these drone sightings be a precursor to something even more profound?
I believe so. I mean, look, I tend to think of it like this. So think of a grasshopper. A grasshopper lives in a field. It thinks that the field is its universe. It dies in the same field. Let's say it dies and comes back and gets reincarnated as a monkey outside of Rio de Janeiro in some jungle. It has an expansion of flora and fauna. There's more different species for it to learn, both in plant life as well as in animal life. Then it comes back and gets reincarnated and lives in rural Alabama. This person in rural Alabama has an expansion of flora and fauna. It can watch TV, and this person knows that the sky is super blue in Alaska, but has never been to visit Alaska, so hasn't really experienced it on his own. Then this person dies and comes back as a metropolitan woman like Zen Sams, who has basically traveled the world and has experienced and knows that there are certain tribes and indigenous peoples that speak certain languages, has heard about it, may not speak those languages, but knows about it. What's the next level of evolution? The next evolution for that person, that personage, is an expansion of flora and fauna again. And the next level of expansion becomes something that starts to go beyond the scope of this current planetary experience, right? The Earth experience. So now you start getting into something that people refer to as the Galactic Federation, right? And this expansion of planets. There are already people, lots of people that are experiencing life in that experience. And one thing that we've learned in physics is that everything we thought was fact is actually merely a facet. The only way to get the whole truth about anything is to sum the total of all possible subjective perspectives of that thing. And what we now learned since 2022 in the Nobel Prize was given in physics that basically showed quantum entanglement is real. And the subject title on the Scientific American article basically talking about it was "Local Realism is False, and this year's Nobel Prize winners proved it." So physics as we know it as a material construct is now literally falling apart. Physics as we know it in this concept of we live in an objective material reality is now literally disintegrating. It's dissolving entirely and being replaced by notions of mentalism and subjectivism. What we thought was objective is actually just subjective. And the only way to get back to some degree of objectivity is to sum all possible perspectives of subjectivity. So this idea that we're not even in a reality-based world is more akin to Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis. And it's something I actually do ascribe to. I believe that we are in a simulation, and it's a simulation of mind, and the universe is mental. And so therefore, becoming aware of things is what changes your reality around you. It's the awareness that makes the shift.
Now, let's shift gears just for a moment to discuss the role of technology, right? So the role of technology is kind of fascinating because we're witnessing this explosion of unmanned vehicles, whether drones or otherwise. In fact, the FAA has reported a significant increase in drone usage in recent years with over 800,000 registered drones in the US alone. So how do you see the role of drones evolving in the near future? And do you think that they could actually be used as instruments for discovery or destruction?
I don't ascribe to the belief that we need to have a massive military to protect us from another government. So maybe governments are the issue. So let's face it, democracy is the least worst of governments. And I think that, hopefully with this raise in consciousness, we can actually come up with something better that doesn't have a situation where we are amassing so many weapons and drones and nuclear bombs and dirty bombs and everything so that we could destroy each other, but rather have governments that actually serve the people because they're of the people, by the people, and for the people. And once you finally realize that the facts you thought you accumulated in life are merely facets of a larger prism of truth, then you start asking yourself the question, why did, instead of asking yourself the question, why did something happen to me? You ask the question, why did I choose this?
Yeah.
When we're in a matrix of mind, you have to remember that. So it's time for humanity, I believe, to choose sovereignty of its own. And that we shouldn't even be asking these questions anymore about dirty bombs and how we can destroy each other and everything, because we're just destroying ourselves. And if you want to get rid of the wars outside of you, get rid of the wars within yourself and be the change you'd like to see in the world.
Wow. Well, listen, I want to have you back for more, but thank you so much for coming on. You are amazing. You are so insightful. You are a master at what you do. I love that. I could call you my friend.
Oh, absolutely. Likewise.
That was the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was returning contributor Robert Edward Grant, best-selling author of Philomath. Head directly to robertedwardgrant.com and check him out on the gram at Robert Edward Grant. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Do you have the dream of starting and owning your own business or know of someone who does? If so, check out Your Home Business program, where they inspire, equip, and encourage those who dream of owning and operating their own business. Check out Your Home Business on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to another segment of The Rankin Difference featuring Dr. David Rankin. Today, we're covering breast implant illness, a condition that isn't well understood, but that can be debilitating. I can vouch for that. BII refers to a wide range of inexplicable symptoms that basically can't be explained by the medical community that develop in women who have reconstruction or cosmetic enlargement with breast implants. It isn't an official medical diagnosis because it's just still not well understood. BII, breast implant illness, is an increasingly recognized condition that is going to affect many women to come with implants, with symptoms ranging from fatigue and brain fog to autoimmune disorders and even rare cancers like breast implant-associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma. I know it's a big word, BIA-ALCL. And despite these reports, BII remains under-researched, and controversial within the medical community. So today we're joined by our expert and recurring contributor, Dr. David Rankin. He's a top breast explant expert in the US and the chief of plastic surgery at St. Mary's Medical Center in West Palm Beach, Florida. He has been in practice for over 20 years, but he's very well known in the BII community. We're going to explore the complexities of breast implant illness, what current research is telling us, and how women can make informed choices about their health. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Dr. David Rankin. Welcome, superstar.
Hey, Zen. Great to be here again.
So excited to have you on. So for the audience watching and listening, in your own words, exactly what is breast implant illness and why does it remain such a controversial topic in the medical field?
Well, like you said, it's an association of many symptoms that women are experiencing through their breast implants. It's controversial because there's really no way to give a definitive diagnosis. There's no blood test. There's no radiologic examination where you can definitively say you have breast implant illness. It's more of a diagnosis of exclusion when you've ruled out other factors. Once you rule those out, you get a diagnosis of BII or breast implant illness.
So your experience working with patients affected by BII provides such an invaluable insight. And not only am I a former patient of yours, but I follow your page, and the information that you're putting out is extremely critical that women understand that they could be part of this demographic. What are the most common symptoms of breast implant illness, and how can women differentiate these symptoms from like any other health condition?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of symptoms that I see in my practice. The FDA has finally come around and recognized breast implant illness and even have it on their website. And they list the most common symptoms as brain fog, anxiety, joint pain, skin rashes. But really, I see a lot of GI issues, exacerbation of autoimmune issues. You name it, I've seen it. It's, again, not something we can diagnose through blood work or other types of studies. And having your implants removed, it is a leap of faith. But lo and behold, in my practice, I see most of my patients improving in their health.
So when you see these consistent symptoms over and over and over again, and then you explant these women and everything poof goes away, what do you have to say for that?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And, when 85% plus of my patients have improvement in their health after explanting, it's real. We need further studies to determine the root cause. And I think, doctors doing a lot of explants and are really working on this along with the medical community. It's becoming more recognized amongst my peers and colleagues, even in other subspecialties, that are referring patients when they see their patients improving also.
Yeah, and your practice essentially is the study, right? It's the study. You have a couple of year waiting list to even get to a patient. You are very well known in the community. And like you said, 85 to 90% of women that you explant, their symptoms go away. And women experiencing symptoms like chronic inflammation and joint pain or these unexplained fatigue, they often find themselves dismissed or misdiagnosed. Like, let's not forget that. And this overlap with other conditions totally makes breast implant illness particularly difficult to pinpoint. And so understanding the commonalities in reported symptoms can totally empower women to seek the right care. And that's exactly what you're all about. And I love that about you. What does current research indicate about the potential link between breast implants and cancer, such as what I mentioned in my intro, BIA-ALCL or other cancers?
Well, we know it's a correlation and a connection, particularly more with textured implants than with smooth implants. The BIA-ALCL, which you mentioned, and also we see a squamous cell carcinoma, which is a cancer within the scar tissue or shell. It is very rare, but it has a higher mortality and morbidity than the BIA-ALCL. So that's something that we're studying now as well.
Yeah, and while these risks still remain relatively low, they are significant enough to prompt FDA warnings and heighten awareness among patients, right? Especially with that black box warning that came about on all implants across the board in October of 2021. So it's an actual thing right now. It's not just hyperbole. Can you explain the differences between silicone and saline implants in relation to their connection to BII and cancer risk? Are there specific materials that are more concerning?
Well, silicone and saline implants both have a silicone outer shell, and that shell traditionally is either a smooth surface or a textured surface. The texturing was made to try and reduce capsular contracture or hardening of the shell around the implant. We've seen more issues with the textured implants than with the smooth. However, there's concerns with both. Enough of an issue that the FDA took off the Allergan textured implants from the market a few years back now. So we know there's concern more with the texture, but both implants, particularly with BII, can cause symptoms. It's just with the cancer diagnosis, the textured we see more commonly.
Yeah, I was reading up on it. Silicone and saline implants have distinct characteristics that influence their risk profiles, but silicone is often praised for this natural feel, but it is more commonly associated with inflammatory responses, which raises questions about its safety compared to saline. But you can't dismiss the saline because I had saline and mold was growing around the valve, right? So like you just don't know. And the research is still not potent enough for us to draw conclusions. Now, for women who want additional volume, but prefer to just avoid implants altogether, what options do you offer and how effective are they in achieving these natural looking results? So to say, I know it's not going to be how it was before, but what do you recommend?
Really, the best thing we have is fat grafting. So it's traditional liposuction. We collect it in a specialized mechanism made for fat grafting. It's injected into the breast. The nice thing about it is it's your tissue. It's not a foreign body. The downsides really are it doesn't give a complete implant look. Really, we can increase breast volume by maybe a half cup to a full cup per procedure. So some women have to have it repeated, but it's the best thing for long-term volume increase without using, a device that's foreign to your body.
Yeah, minimizing long-term risks. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
How important is the removal of the capsule during explant surgery, and what are the risks of leaving it behind for patients with BII or even cancer concerns?
Well, that's a controversial topic. If you speak with the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, they've done some studies which they say, a partial capsulectomy or partial removal is just as good as a full removal. I think if you look at the studies with cancers and cancers forming within the capsule, it just makes much more sense to remove it and bypass any possibility of cancer development down the road. Also, I think personally, there is going to be evidence that comes out that the capsule has something to do with the breast implant illness symptoms too. That's anecdotal at this point. It's just what I see in my practice is full removal equates more to symptom relief than partial removal.
Now, how has social media influenced the rise of awareness around BII and the demand for explant surgery?
It's been fantastic because it's an educational tool, and a lot of these sites are women speaking to other women and giving their experiences. It's bringing light to the fact that this even exists because it's been kind of like we talked about poo-pooed by the medical community for a long time and brushed aside, and these patients have not had a voice. They haven't been aware that their implants can be causing some of the debilitating symptoms they're having within their life. So I think social media has done a tremendous job in educating women and the public in general that this could be a possibility.
Now, lastly, I would like to know your thoughts. The new Motiva breast implants. Surgeons seem to be pushing these to women who have previously suffered from breast implant illness, specifically because they are recently FDA approved and extensive research has been occurring since 2018. They're considered to have a very low risk of rupture, with manufacturers claiming that rupture rate is less than like 1% due to apparently there's a unique design and high quality silicone gel, making them one of the more safer options on the market. And they're also claiming that the implants come with a quote unquote always confident warranty, which covers replacement in case of a manufacturing defect related rupture. Okay, what do you have to say to this?
So I know you're speaking about the Motiva implants, and they've been around a while. It's a company from Costa Rica. They were recently FDA approved in the United States, I think November of 2024. We've seen a lot of implants, a lot of implant companies come and go. They redefine their gel. They make it more cohesive. It gets on the market, and it's always the greatest new thing. So I think time will tell. It's being put out there as a smooth implant, but really it's not quite a textured implant, but it's a nano texturing surface to the implant. And I think, when some of the other implants went on the market, they were told to be, less capsular contracture, less rupture, all these things in the past. So I think in the future, my guess is they're going to prove to be very similar to the implants we have on the market now, but time will tell.
Time will tell, right? Time will tell. But the part that gets me is that quote unquote always confident warranty, which covers replacement in case of a manufacturing defect-related rupture.
That's done with some of the US-based implant companies already. If you have a rupture, they'll pay for replacement, but they won't pay for an explant, or they won't pay for other procedures. They'll get just new implants.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks, right?
Yeah.
Well, we are at the end of this very informative interview. I can't thank you enough for coming on again. Top of the new year to really just lay it on straight but thick, because women need to know the truth. And this is what you do all day, every day. All you do is remove these guys and make women feel better. So I love the ethos of not only the foundation of your practice, but that you've taken that oath of solely explanting, which speaks volumes.
Yeah, thank you. And it's important to know for women that not every woman with breast implants has problems. But if you are having symptoms, if you are having health issues, it's important to know that this could be your problem.
Ladies, do your research, ask all the right questions, and bring up even the hard topics. Dr. Rankin, thank you so much for joining us and providing such invaluable insights since it's such a crucial topic.
Thank you so much.
The Rankin Difference is brought to you by DavidRankinMD.com, and you can check him out directly on the gram at David Rankin MD. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series. Today, we're joined by certified nurse practitioner, skin expert, and injector, David WOR. With over 23 years of devoted experience, his passion for beauty, skincare, and education is unmatched. He's a trusted source in guiding clients to achieve their best look and slow down the aging process. Personally trained by the esteemed Dr. Rod Rorick, David brings a wealth of knowledge and research on the latest cutting-edge, non-invasive beauty procedures to help patients look as good as they feel. He's going to join me today to chat all about the world of injectables and how CO2 Lift, once again, is supporting both results and recovery. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. So we're going to dive right in, straight to the point. You're an expert in non-invasive cosmetic procedures, particularly toxins and fillers. And interestingly enough, in the past few years, there's been a noticeable shift in patient preferences, with more people opting for non-invasive treatments over surgical options. In your expert opinion, what do you think is driving the growing demand for these non-invasive procedures and products?
One is wanting to look natural. Okay, because I think there's a fear with surgery that you might not look natural. So people equate non-invasive with less severe of a result or something like that. And then I think my patients are also looking for a minimal downtime. You know, they don't want the downtime of surgery, weeks out of work, etc. I think with non-invasive, there's typically obviously lower risk, it's lower cost. And there's been a huge advancement in technology. So there's a lot of things that we could do now outside of the operating room that 20 years ago, we would never thought or even imagine possible. I think as far as non-invasive is concerned, a lot of my patients are looking for a preventative uh, aspect to aging. It's no longer corrective work, it's more prejuvenation versus rejuvenation. And we can achieve that in the non-invasive aspect. And I think also with the tool of social media and the education that's out there, something like your show, is that people are now aware of the different aspects of non-invasive medicine that we can actually do to prejuvenate them or even rejuvenate them without having to go underneath the knife. And lastly, I really think there's been a nice cultural shift, that there's no longer a stigma around having some of these non-invasive procedures done like there were about 10 years ago. So people are more readily accessible and more readily available to undergo some of these non-invasive procedures to look and feel their best. It's about a confidence thing, and people are no longer as scared as they used to be.
Yeah, people are very educated, and you're right. You're 100% right. Social media brings a lot of information at the forefront, and we can dissect it as fast as we want, right? At the fingertips. And
Yeah.
so that's a little bit different than your traditional approaches, where you had to go to a website and look at the before and afters and read patient testimonials. Now it's right there in your face, right? Now let's bring CO2 lift into the picture. As we know,
Mhm.
carboxytherapy has actually been around since the 1930s, injecting carbon dioxide gas underneath the skin, right? But CO2 lift was able to remodel this in a new delivery system as a non-invasive topical gel mask, which is what we're speaking to. And while it has many monotherapy benefits, it can also be used in combo therapies, both pre and post procedure. David, what inspired you to pair CO2 lift with injectables such as biostimulators in your practice, and how have you firsthand seen it improve a procedure's results?
I have been using a carboxylift since it's came to the market. I thought it was very anecdotal in the beginning because we only used hyperbaric oxygen in emergency situations typically to promote wound healing if we had a dusky flap or if we had tissue that wasn't responding post-surgery the way that we wanted to. So whenever I was introduced to this kind of novel gel concept of being able to have like a tiny little gel hyperbaric oxygen chamber that I could apply topically in my practice was very interesting for me. Now, when you think about biostimulators and how they work, they typically work by stimulating collagen in different pathways, whether it be an inflammatory pathway, whether it be a fibroblastic pathway. But for those typical biostimulators to work, they have to be in a environment that promotes for them to stimulate collagen. So with carboxy mask, you have this nice novel therapy that you can apply topically to boost things like oxygen, hydration. And these are things that you need when you're injecting biostimulators. So I think of biostimulators, probably the two most popular ones right now are going to be Sculptra and Radiesse. That when I'm injecting these products, I think of them as like fertilizer for my collagen. Okay. But where's the sun? And, Lana Kerr, who is a proponent, obviously, the CEO of Carboxy Mask, told me about this. And I started partnering it with my biostimulators because I was like, okay, if I am fertilizing the yard, what am I doing to give it the sun that it needs? And it makes total sense to pair Carboxy Masks with our biostimulators to increase oxygenation, increase the tissue moisture level, because that type of appropriate environment, that healthy environment, is going to make our biostimulators just work better.
Wow, I love what you just said. That's a great analogy. You put it so you paired that very nicely with those words. We should coin that.
Yeah.
You know, we need sun. We need sun.
You
Now,
need some-
a major priority of patients today is minimal downtime, at least for me. And the shift towards non-invasive treatments is allowing that. And even following a non-invasive treatment, there are steps patients can take to continually reduce downtime and improve the healing process. What are the common challenges patients face during recovery from injectable treatments? And in your experience, how does CO2 lift help mitigate them?
So swelling and inflammation, number one. Anything that we do typically non-invasive is going to have swelling and inflammation, and it should, because sometimes that swelling and inflammation is what leads to the result. However, we are in an era where patients are no longer patient. Okay, even me, like I want everything Amazon Prime same day. Like I don't want to wait 5 days for it to come. I want it the same day. So, when we're doing injectables, some things that can happen are swelling and inflammation. So you have carboxytherapy that speeds up circulation and helps with lymphatic drainage. So boom, swelling and inflammation is going to be decreased. Then you have bruising. If you're putting a needle in someone's face, obviously there's a chance of bruising. There's thousands of tiny little blood vessels. If you get a bruise, that might take 7 to 14 days to go away. So that's interfering with your result right in the beginning. And patients don't like bruising. So if I could put something on that's going to help increase oxygenation, increase blood circulation, increase lymphatic drainage, it's going to help mitigate that bruising a lot more efficiently. Next, redness and sensitivity. Post-injection, we're using a lot of different things like hypochlorous acid, alcohol, chloroprep, different things to cleanse the skin, and those could be very irritating. So using something that can restore moisture balance to the skin makes total sense to help with the microbiome of the skin and make sure that the skin is no longer irritated. So carboxytherapy makes sense there. And then, of course, you have like dryness and dehydration, which, of course, carboxytherapy is going to help increase moisture. And then lastly, like I said earlier with the Amazon analogy, patients aren't patient. We want results same day. And what I find when I pair my carboxytherapy with my injectables, that swelling goes away faster. The result tends to look better faster, as opposed to saying, oh, wait a month, it'll look good in a month. I could say, oh, wait a few days and it's going to look pretty good. And patients nowadays, they want that kind of instant gratification. So carboxy is really cool that I can really pair it with a lot of my procedures to help speed up that process.
Wow, you are a scientist. Now, I want to touch on one specific challenge some
Sure.
patients face after receiving some fillers: vascular occlusion, which is a rare but serious complication. What steps do you take to prevent and manage this issue? And how can CO2 lift play a role in managing vascular occlusions and supporting tissue recovery?
Okay, well, this is the giant warning label that I have to talk about with every single injectable patient. And unfortunately, some patients have never even heard of the risks of some of the injectables that we do. And when we inject an implant into the skin, being hyaluronic acid or even a biostimulator, the greatest potential risk is that we may inject it into an artery. And if we inject it into an artery, it can actually stop the blood flow to the area of where that artery goes. Okay. And that can lead to ischemic tissue, or the tissue dying. Okay. And there have been case reports all over the world of some very severe things happening as far as necrotic tissue, parts of people's faces dying and requiring surgical intervention as far as like skin grafts, etc. Now, that is a very, very low chance of happening, but it is a real possibility. And there's even been reported cases of like things like blindness from injectable fillers. So it is something that your provider should be going over with you. However, even though it is a low risk, I do have an entire tackle box in my refrigerator of everything proven to fix these things. Okay. In my career of over 23 years, I've only seen a couple of them. Okay. It's a very, very rare chance of it happening. But if you have cut off the blood flow to an area, the best thing you can do is reestablish blood flow, right? So what are things that you can do to reestablish blood flow? I mean, there's tons of things that I could talk about as far as Hylenex to dissolve the product, vasodilators like Nitrobid, sildenafil, warm compress, massage. There's lots of things that we can do in office. However, most of the time, if there are severe cases of loss of blood flow, we send these patients to a hyperbaric chamber to reestablish blood flow. Now, in office, I have a tiny little packet that I can just slap a hyperbaric chamber right over the area that has loss of tissue perfusion. So this is very anecdotal, and I know they're studying this in certain parts of the world. I know Dr. Walker in the UK is looking at this specifically because he's part of the CMAC conference that looks at global adverse events and how to correct them. However, if we can apply something that's going to increase oxygen perfusion to the tissue, if we have inadvertently affected arterial supply, it makes total sense. So carboxytherapy is
Wow.
another thing that you can have in your rescue kit or your toolbox as a way to increase patient safety in your clinic. Now, these things are very rare, but they are a real possibility. And there's it's like the crash cart. Like in the
Yeah.
hospital, you have a crash cart. You don't ever want to use it, but you need to have it just in case. And this is something that I have in my crash cart.
Wow. CO2 lift never ceases to stop amazing me. I mean, these endorsements and these testimonials are number one, 100% organic, based on facts, reality, and real anecdotal information. Like you said, no one is paying you to say this stuff. No one is forcing you to say this stuff, but you explained it so nicely. And the fact that it's such a saving grace in medical procedures is as a combo therapy, like you said, monotherapy is so rewarding to know that you have a product that is basically working wonders on many, many different fronts.
Mhm.
Which brings me to my next question. We have about 2 minutes left, and I
Sure.
want to get through this one and one more. So I know education is also of the utmost importance to you. You were trained under the renowned plastic surgeon, like we just mentioned, Dr. Rod Rorick, and he has contributed on our show in the past. And as a self-proclaimed research nerd, you are actively involved in ongoing studies for the
Mhm.
FDA and top aesthetic brands. So
Mhm.
why do you believe education is crucial in this field for both students and practicing professionals, especially in an era of such rapid advancement?
Because I think it is an era of rapid advancement. We are only as good as we were yesterday. I look at things that I was doing 20 years ago and I laugh. I really laugh because I'm like, I would never do that again. I look at things that I did 10 years ago or 5 years ago and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Now, as someone who treats my patients based on evidence based literature and based on what the research and the science is telling us and directing me to give my patient the best actual treatments to get the best results, that is changing on a day-to-day basis. I could go over, I mean, if we had another half hour, I could go over things that I learned in the past 3 months, new advancements in non-invasive aesthetic medicine that have kind of changed my practice. And this is just in the past 3 months. So as an evidence-based practitioner, I have to make sure that I'm staying on top of what the research is telling me to make sure that I keep my patients safe and also to make sure that I'm giving them the best treatments to get the best outcomes.
Wow, I love it. Okay, so now we're going to touch on exactly what you just said. So before we wrap up, what emerging trends or technologies do you see shaping the future, of injectables and skin rejuvenation as a whole, and or the ones that you've implemented in the last 3 months? I'd love to hear about them.
Yeah, so I think the biggest trends right now, of course, are going to be biostimulators. Okay. Everyone's talking about biostimulators. They want their body to do the work. They don't want implants. They don't want synthetics. They want something natural. However, I'm a giant proponent of hyaluronic acid fillers. And what people don't understand is even though hyaluronic acid fillers are considered implants, they are biostimulatory in their own right. They can stimulate collagen. So there still is a place for them in the realm of biostimulation. Regenerative aesthetics, there's a lot of area of opportunity to study in this as far as like exosomes and PRF and stem cells and all these different things that focus on biorejuvenation. So regenerative medicine is and functional medicine is huge in the next coming years. And I think with the patient demand, of getting better and better results with less downtime and being more and more minimally invasive. So the ultimate goal, and I laugh with Dr. Rourke about this because we had a conversation and he said, what's your number one goal in your career, David? And I said, to put you out of business. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, ultimately, as a non-surgeon, I want my patients to get surgical results without having to have surgery. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet, but it is one of those things that is the ultimate goal of non-invasive aesthetics, and it will get there eventually. And I
I'm
think,
sure he loved that.
yeah, he did. He laughs about it. We joke with each other.
Yeah.
But as the technology continues to advance, we're going to get more and better results with less downtime. But the kind of warning that I put on that is because there is so many technologies coming out so quickly that they're not all vetted to the same degree at the same level. So there has to be a consumer warning to all the patients out there. Like just because it says it's good on the internet doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So you have to make sure you're going to a practitioner that's really following that evidence and making sure that they're giving you the best treatment that is going to yield you the best result in their hands.
You said it. And with that, we are out of time, my dear friend. It's been such a fun date. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
thank you.
talking with you. I thank you so much for your expertise, your knowledge, truly, not only does it show that you do your research, but it really shows that you care about your patients and patient outcome and that you put them first. And that's priceless.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a wrap, my dear friends. That was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. And that was the incredible David Weir, certified nurse practitioner, skin expert, and injector. Definitely be sure to check him out on the gram at Ultimate Skin Source to stay up to date with his work and the latest in the field. And you can also head directly to his website, ultimateskinsource.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
In business and in life, there's always an upside. Finding it is often the challenge. Having a mindset that looks for it and embraces problems as opportunities is the key to thriving. Finding the upside with Maria de Lorenzis Reyes explores the transformative power of optimism, featuring visionary business owners, influential leaders, and inspiring everyday people. Tune in and see how they navigate changing conditions with optimism and innovation. Watch the special series One Tough Chick, highlighting resilient and powerful women, streaming on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Polished Beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Daisy Ayim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and your board certified OBGYN. Let's talk about feminine moisturizers. Yes, we're talking about vulva vaginal moisturizers. This is something that's incredibly important. This topic is something that's often overlooked and not addressed often enough. So today I want to talk about it, okay? So these are products, the feminine moisturizers, that deal with hydration of the intimate area. So it addresses our health and it helps with your everyday life. So I want to demystify some of the conversations surrounding it, and let's focus on what's available, all right? What's available over the counter or in the market or in your doctor's office. So we're going to break it down into 3 different categories so that you would know which one is good for you or which one you would like to choose. The first one is non-hormonal vaginal moisturizers. These are your products that contain hyaluronic acid. Yes, that's the same hyaluronic acid that we use on the face for hydration. And it also may contain, you guessed it, botanicals like aloe vera. That is very good for soothing and it helps with dryness. It helps with discomfort, okay? It may also contain glycerin. So it's really important when you're getting this over-the-counter products that state that they're feminine moisturizers, you want to look at the ingredients, okay? The good thing about this category is that it's simple to use. You can use it every day and there's really no long-term sequelae. The only thing I caution you is to make sure that there are no fragrances or any ingredients that you may be reacted to. So you want to pay attention to the label, okay? Then your second category is that vaginal lubricants. Although it's not technically a moisturizer, but it does help with moisture during sexual intimacy. So that's why I included that as its own category. And when you're looking at vaginal lubricants, you know, there are oil-based, there's water-based, and then there's silicone-based. Obviously, water-based is the one preferable that you should use during intimacy with a condom because it's more compatible. Your oil-based can cause some irritation and even some rupture to the condom, so you have to be cautious with that. Silicone is just a little bit messier to clean up afterwards, okay? But that's an option that's available. Then you have your final third category. That's your vaginal moisturizers that are hormonal-based. These are prescription-based, and the ingredient in this are 2, really, DHEA and estrogen. Yes, the same estrogen you hear about all the time, but fun fact, let me ask you a question. Do you know how many estrogens there are, the type of estrogens? If you said 4, you're correct. This particular estrogen we're talking about is estradiol. Estradiol is technical term, bioidentical hormone, meaning that your body produces it. And that's what we use for this category. And it comes in the form of tablet. It can come in the form of cream. It can be a gel, and you insert this intravaginally. A woman that would need vaginal estrogen is someone that is perimenopause, menopause, breastfeeding, post-chemotherapy, or just going through life changes that affects their health and they have hormonal deficiency. So this is prescription based, and you really need to consult a physician so you can get a prescription with this. The long-term benefits of estrogen is more than just a moisturizer. Obviously, it helps with restoring the tissue, yes, and also helps with elasticity. Basically, it just helps with the overall appearance of the vulvovaginal tissue besides just moisturizing it. So that's why you really want to consult your physician so you can get this comprehensive discussion with it. But for right now, just to summarize, there are 3 broad categories that I've mentioned: non-hormonal, vaginal lubricants, and hormonal. Okay, so you have one of those 3 to pick for your feminine moisturizer needs. As usual, it's a pleasure to discuss this with you guys. You can follow me on Instagram or my podcast to hear more about this particular topic in the longer version.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Aim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Aim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com.
That's a wrap, my dear friends. We are officially at the end of our date. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night, like you have been for the last 5 years, from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, or you could head to 710wor.iheart.com/a moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV on Sundays, and you could watch the entire show. It's free programming to you, 1 p.m. Eastern. You could go directly on our website or check our link in bio on Instagram. It'll take you directly there. YouTube, we upload Sundays at 2 p.m. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide. Again, free programming to you. You could head directly to the streaming platform and head to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make the show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll see you next week.